Hello everyone, welcome to Module 1, Lesson 1 on how to purchase a home. We're going to be discussing the 5 stages of purchasing a home so you feel more confident in the process. My name is Dr. Kevin Schufer, the property professor. I am licensed in real estate and mortgage lending in Arizona and California, but have referral partners and do business with people from all 50 states and internationally. Let's go ahead and dive into Lesson 1. So one of the problems with home buying for the first time is that the process feels pretty overwhelming. You're not really sure where to start. You're not sure how much money you actually need. You're not sure what happens after your offer is accepted. You're not sure what the inspection process looks like. You don't know what an appraisal is. All of these things happen during the process. And if this is you, then you are not alone. But the good news is that the process actually is very predictable once you're able to see the bigger picture. So let's go ahead and dive into that. As I've mentioned, there are 5 main stages to purchasing a home. First is going to be the pre-approval process where you're going to get approved by a lender to see how much home you can actually qualify for. Then you're going to start house hunting. So this is actually looking at homes online, then taking tours of homes. Then step 3 is make an offer. This is where negotiations come into play. This is where your agent really is supposed to be doing their best efforts to make sure that you get the best deal possible. Then stage 4 is going to be the escrow and inspections. So once you are approved for that offer, then you get an inspection done to make sure the house actually is good to go. You then also are going to be going through the escrow process, which is making sure that everything with the loan lines up, that the house gets appraised and is actually worth how much you're buying it for. And then finally is closing. So there's a difference between signing for your house and then actually when you're able to get the keys. And so with this roadmap, the entire journey is going to feel more manageable for you, but we're going to dive into each of these stages a little bit further right now. So stage 1 is the pre-approval process. This is where you're going to apply with a mortgage lender to see how much home you can actually qualify for and afford. So when you do this, they're going to ask you for a couple documents. They're going to ask you for things like your bank statements, for your pay stubs. They're trying to make sure that you're actually making as much money as you say you are. And part of this process can feel overwhelming because they're asking for some documentation up front, and you will also have to give documentation throughout the process before the loan is finalized. But this is really just setting the benchmark for, okay, what can we roughly afford? You get an idea of what your mortgage payment will look like based on that affordability. And I think that this stage is really important because it sets the expectation for what it is that we're going to be looking for when we're out house hunting, which is in stage 2 in just a second. And so if you, for example, are looking at a house that costs $750,000, but you can only afford a $500,000 house, then you are doing a couple things. You're wasting your time ultimately because that's not something you can afford at the current moment. And you're also getting your hopes up because you're looking at these $750,000 homes, but can't actually afford that. So during this process of trying to get pre-approved or pre-qualified, the lender is going to be looking at things like your income, your credit, and your debt to income ratio. So how much money are you paying every month in certain bills, credit cards, auto loans, etc. And so it's going to help set your budget, and it's going to make you more competitive as a buyer because sellers do prefer to have a buyer that is actually pre-approved. All right, stage 2 is going to be the house hunt. So before we start hunting for houses, if you are someone who has a realtor beforehand, then you might have said like, hey, I'm looking for a house. And they said, hey, okay, go ahead and reach out to this mortgage lender to see what you're qualified for, and then we'll start to house hunt. But for some people, they go the other route where they reach out to the lender first and then reach out to a realtor after to start touring homes. So regardless of what route you take, you will then start to work with a realtor to determine, okay, what houses are we going to see? You can be looking online at places like Zillow if you want to, but the agent should be able to set you up with a customized home search on the MLS, which is a multiple listing service, to help make sure that your search criteria are exactly what you want. So you're going to talk about your wants versus your needs. Do you want a single story or a 2-story? Do you need a single story versus a 2-story? Do you need 4 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms? Do you need 2 bathrooms, 3 bathrooms? Do you need a backyard? Do you need a garage? Do you want a pool? All of those things are factored into this custom home search, and then what they do is they can set up so that you receive that home search either every single day or maybe a couple times a week. Just really depends on what you want to do, and it's on your schedule. Regardless of who you're working with, you should be aware that you are always in charge. We are here as a mortgage lender and a realtor myself. We are here to guide you and offer our advice, our opinions, to help you secure the best deal possible, but it's ultimately always your choice. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to necessarily do anything that you don't want to do. You don't have to see any homes that you don't want to see. So just keep that in mind when you're starting to tour homes. This process can be very fun, right? Going out and seeing homes in person, seeing, okay, what do I like? What do I not like? Does this work for me? Does this not work for me? And after every tour, hopefully you're starting to get a better sense of what you want, what you actually want, and where you want to be. Finally, here I'll say that if you are going out house hunting, I would recommend only seeing about 5 homes per day tops, because after that they really start to blend together. Typically I prefer it like 3 or 4, but it really depends on you. As I said before, if you want to go for more homes than that, that's totally fine. But that is stage 2, house hunt. So we are on to stage 3 now, which is actually making an offer. And this stage can feel a little stressful because you want to make sure that you're getting the best deal possible, but you also want to make sure that the deal gets accepted. And so with your realtor, you will sit down and figure out, okay, what is it that you want to offer? What contingencies do we want to include? And what is our closing date? So the way that this works is you will say for example, we have a house that is worth $500,000. It's on the market for $500,000. We sit down and then we decide, okay, do we want to offer $500,000? Do we want to offer $490,000? Do we want to offer $510,000? You decide what you want to offer based on what you qualify for with that pre-approval that we did in step 1. It's important to note that if and when your offer gets accepted, you're expected to put down what's called earnest money. And this is basically an earnest deposit. It's a good faith deposit saying, hey, I'm willing to start this process by putting some money towards this house. And so this payment goes toward your down payment. So usually I recommend about 1% for earnest money. So on a $500,000 house, you're looking at a $5,000 down payment right at the start of offer acceptance to get the process started. This money is fully refundable as long as you meet several of the contingencies. So for example, if during the inspection period you find something that you do not like with the house, you can back out of the contract and you can get that money back. If the house does not appraise for the value that it is, so say for example, the house is being sold at $500,000, you offer $500,000, but the price comes in at $475,000. You can choose to walk away and get your money back. And then if for some reason that is no fault of your own, you do not qualify for financing, your loan does not get approved, then that would be another instance where you can get that $5,000 back. And so you don't lose any money, you've just really only lost some time. So you will then decide, okay, what the earnest money is going to be. You will then also think about how much down payment you're going to do. The down payment oftentimes is going to depend on the loan type that you have, and we'll get more into financing in a later lesson. And then you also then choose different things like your closing date. You will also say, do you want any of the appliances that are being left in the house? So washer, dryer, refrigerator, for example. You also then can tell them if you want a home warranty. And so this is basically going to help protect all major appliances if something goes wrong within that first year. It helps give you peace of mind. So this is the offer process. Really here, your agent should be looking at a couple of different things. They should be looking to see, is this house actually priced the way that it should be? Is it overpriced? Is it underpriced? Is it a good deal or not? And then help sit with you to figure out, okay, what do you feel comfortable offering? And just know that this could go back and forth several times. I've been in situations where we've gone back and forth and we've had 2 or 3 counter offers because the 2 parties, seller and buyer, would just kind of figure out, okay, where are we actually going to meet before we move forward with this? So that can happen. So that can be part of the stress that is involved there. But really what your realtor should be doing is they should be helping manage that stress for you and making sure that you feel comfortable and confident with your offer from start to finish. So that is stage 3, the offer. All right, we are at stage 4 now, which is escrow and inspections. So that earnest money deposit that I mentioned before is going to be held by a third party, which is an escrow company or a title company. They're going to take that money and they're going to hold on to it throughout the duration of the process. And so this is to make sure that the money doesn't get mishandled or misused in any way. It is safe with that third party. And so then, once you've submitted that earnest deposit, we then go into inspections. So this is also called the due diligence period. And so during this period, you have typically about 10 days, 7 to 10 days, to figure out, is the property in good condition? And so this is really important because if you purchase a house without an inspection, you don't know what you're actually getting into. You don't know what the quality of the roof is, what the plumbing looks like. And so I recommend to my clients that they typically they look for the big ticket items, 5 main ones. Primarily, you have the foundation, you have the roof, you have the plumbing, you have electrical, and you have the AC, which is especially important in Arizona because if you live in Arizona, you know how hot it can really get. So during this inspection, what will happen is the inspector will come in. It will cost you a couple $100 probably for the inspection. Depends on the size of the home, depends on how much of the inspection you want to actually get done. It depends if you're going to bring on specialists or not. Depending on where you live, roofers can be free, plumbers for sewer scopes can be free as well, but it really just depends on what your agent's able to negotiate and what the prices look like in your specific area. But the inspector is going to go through the house and mark down every single thing that they see that is wrong with the property. And this is going to be things like, oh, you're missing a door handle here, or the latch on this doesn't lock, or this is a hole in the wall here, to things like this roof is terrible and needs to be fully replaced, or this AC is not cooling the way that it's supposed to. So there will oftentimes be a very long report, and this can stress some people out because they think, wow, there are so many issues with this house. But I hate to tell you this, pretty much every house you're going to get into, even new build homes, are going to have issues come up during the inspection period. Really what you're looking for here is, what things are you able to potentially take care of for yourself or by yourself? What are some things that maybe are just more cosmetic and don't really matter too much about the quality or the structure of the home? And then what are the items that are going to be really important for you to have the seller address before we move forward with the process? So at the end of that inspection period, your agent is going to submit what's called a BINSR to the seller. And on this BINSR, you are going to provide everything that you want to have them correct or give you a credit for, depending on your loan type and the situation, before you close on the house. There are a couple different schools of thought here. Some people say, hey, let's put everything on the BINSR and let's just see what we can get from them. But the one that I prefer to operate under is, let's really just focus on the big ticket items that we think are most important and hope that all of those get accepted. So after you submit that, the seller then has a couple different options. They can say, okay, yes, we're going to go ahead and take care of everything here for you. They can say, we're only going to take care of items 1, 2, and 3, but not 4, 5, and 6. Or they can say, we're not going to take care of any of these for you at all. If they choose to not take care of any of them for you, you can then still continue with the contract if you want, or you can walk away and get your earnest money back. Same thing goes with if they say we're going to take care of a couple of them, you can walk away and get your money back there as well. And so this inspection period is very critical. Please, please, please do not purchase a home without actually getting an inspection done on it. All right, we are here now in stage 5 at closing. So if the inspection period cleared and all the issues got addressed, that is great. If the home also appraised, which means that the lender came in and said, hey, this home is actually worth how much you are offering for it, then that is great. If the house does not appraise, I think I mentioned this earlier, then you can walk away from the contract and get your earnest money back. Or what we can try to do is you can ask the seller to reduce the price to what the appraisal price is, because you shouldn't have to pay more for a home than it's actually worth. However, this does tend to happen if you are in a bidding war, for example, or if there's multiple people who are trying to get the house, or if it's a highly desired house, or if you just have extra money and you think that the house is worth it, you're more than welcome to pay more, but typically I don't recommend doing that. So the house can come in at value, which is good, which means we can move forward. It can come in under value, which means we have to potentially renegotiate and make sure that you're not paying more for the house than it's actually worth. Or in these cases, if the appraisal comes in over the purchase price, then that is great, because that means that you have instant equity in the home. So say, for example, you're offering $500,000. The appraisal comes back and it says it's worth $515,000. That's $15,000 of equity that you just got out of nowhere, which is great. So once that is done, the final loan will get approved. During this process between the end of the inspection period and closing, so if the inspection period is 10 days, the process typically takes about 30 days from acceptance of contract to close of contract and when you get the keys. So between days about 12 13 through like 26, you're not really doing too much. You are submitting paperwork to the lender to make sure that everything is finalized. You're filling out some forms in the background, but a lot of stuff is working in the background, even if it's not actually, you're not actually doing very much yourself in that 2-week period. So once the loan is finalized, then what you are going to do is you're going to submit your remaining down payment, which is minus the earnest money you've already submitted. So say, for example, you're putting $15,000 down. You've already submitted $5,000 as the earnest deposit. So now you're going to owe $10,000 remaining on that down payment, and then potentially closing costs as well, which we're going to talk about in an upcoming lesson here. So hold on for that. Once the loan gets funded, you will go to the title company, or they will come to you with a mobile notary, and you will sign for the property. This can be also stressful because there's a pretty decent sized stack of papers that you have to sign, but the notary or the title company, escrow company should walk you through exactly what you are signing on each step. You should also make sure that if you have questions and you ask questions, if you want your agent there with you, you can have your agent there with you just to confirm things. So you have to just make sure that you're protecting yourself and your interests, because this is a big purchase. And so once you sign, then what ends up happening is that the title company, escrow company sends that paperwork to the county to be recorded. And then once the county records it, that is when you actually are able to get your keys. So you do not leave the title company with keys. That's typically not how it works. It's usually going to take a couple hours. It could potentially be pushed the next day when it gets recorded, depending on what time you actually sign and what time the loan funds through the lender, depending on what lender you're using, what time zone they're in. And so you do have a closing date, but that closing date can shift a little bit. So I always recommend that you just kind of be aware that the closing date can shift maybe by about a day, 1 to 3 days, depending on how things are going. And sometimes it could get pushed longer if there's other issues that get tied up with the contract. But assuming everything goes according to plan, you sign, the county records it, your agent gives you the keys, and now you are a homeowner. Congratulations. So I just want to provide a quick overview of what closing costs look like. So people often say like, okay, how much money do I actually need in order to purchase a home? It's going to depend on a couple different factors. So if we're using this $500,000 purchase price, if you're going with a conventional loan, you're doing just 3% down, because it is possible to get a house for just 3% down. Some people think it's 20%, but that's not actually true. So that's going to be $15,000 for the down payment. Closing costs, which we're going to get into a little bit further in an additional lesson, these are going to be fees that are associated with the loan, with title company, homeowners insurance, property taxes, HOA fees. All of those things get rolled into that. Typically, it's going to be about 2 to 3% of the purchase price as well. So realistically, you're looking at about 5 to 6% at minimum to purchase a home. So we're going to say that here closing costs are going to be $11,200. It is possible during the negotiation period to get concessions or credits from the seller. This is going to depend on the loan type that you have. There are certain limits. You cannot use money from the seller toward your down payment, but you can use money from the seller towards your closing costs. And so if, for example, we got $8,000 from the seller as a credit for our closing costs, then we're only actually going to owe $3,200 for our closing costs, plus the $15,000 for the down payment. So we are getting into this house all in for $15,200. That's pretty good. So as a quick recap, let's just talk about what those 5 stages are once again. 5 main stages in the home buying process. Pre-approval, where you figure out, okay, how much home can I afford? Then you go on the house hunt to see what house do I actually want. Then you get through the offer process, where your agent's going to help you negotiate the best deal possible. Stage 4 is going to be escrow and inspections to make sure that the house is high quality and is going to be acceptable for you. And then stage 5 is the closing, where you're going to sign and then finally get your keys. So hopefully you understand these steps a little bit better, and hopefully you're feeling a lot less intimidated about getting this process started. So now that you've completed lesson 1, I encourage you to continue forward to lesson 2, where we're going to talk about the mortgage pre-approval process. And this is where we're going to discuss in more detail what lenders are actually looking for and how you're going to qualify for a mortgage. Hope to see you there. Very quickly before you go, I just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate you watching this first lesson. I highly encourage you to subscribe to the Real Estate and Mortgage 101 series because I'm going to give you a lot more information to help you feel as confident as possible during this process. You can also download Module 1 for free just by clicking on the link in the description box down below. And finally, I know that this process can feel overwhelming, so I am here for you. I know that you can do this. I will walk you through every step of the way. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions or want more information. Thank you once again for watching. If you need to contact me, you have my phone number here. Feel free to text me or call me at your convenience. Email me as well. I do serve clients across all 50 states in the United States, and I have international referral partners available if you're looking to purchase in a different location. Let me know how I can assist you on this journey. I'm here for you. You can do this. Take care.